Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Brother Sister Show, a family owned and operated podcast where two siblings keep in touch by talking about movies. This week, we're talking about Livia's pick, Parasite. But before we get into that, hello, Livia. How are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
You kind of shouted.
Did I?
Yeah, but I loved it. Yeah, I'm okay. I haven't talked about my wisdom teeth in a while, so I guess I can update y'all on that. And the like gum flap, all of it doesn't hurt at all anymore. So my body, like, I'm taking that as an indication for my body that I should just like leave it alone and not go to the doctor. So
Let it be.
yeah, but I'm having like eye problem stuff, and I always have something wrong with me. But yeah, that's how I've been doing.
What you been watching?
I watched a couple of things, but only two stood out for me to actually write. The first one is I realized I hadn't seen Alien like ever, so I watched that, and it holds up. I mean, I know I sound dumb when I talk about classics. Like, I think the last one was Silence of the Lambs. And I'm like, yeah, it was really good. Like, of course it's fucking good. Everybody talks about how good it is. But I do still feel surprised when I see a classic and then it's actually super, super good. So this one, I mean, even for the time it was made, it was still like the practical effects, and I don't know if they use CGI, but all of the effects were still really striking and scary. So
the like little face hugger things.
That was fucking terrifying. The one that like when the alien is a baby, and then when it grows, like when it gets into like a full grown alien, it's all like super good and super scary. And yeah, I don't know. It's cool to see movies back in the day that have effects like that actually scare you. Like, it actually did make me really creeped out when I'll see a movie like off pod. We were talking about The Exorcist, and I always make fun of that movie because it doesn't scare me like at all. And I think it just boils down to like I'm used to more what is the word? Like, not updated.
More modern
modern graphics, or just like makeup and stuff. And that,
or
like,
even
looking
special
back,
effects.
yeah. And looking back at older movies, to me, they look a little silly, but I don't know. Like, for stuff like that, it's kind of it. I do recognize that it had the limit of the time it was made, but it's kind of hard to like be scared of it.
Yeah, I get that.
But this movie was like, I was legitimately not terrified, but it was really creepy.
Spooked out.
Yeah. Very good. The second one was a movie I did not like at all, and I'm curious if you saw it, but it's a movie that's new on Netflix called The Devil All the Time.
No, I'm not.
So it has a pretty well. Oh wait, first of all, before I get into that movie, yeah, but before I get into that, did you ever watch that movie I told you to watch, Strange But True?
No, I never watched it.
Oh my god, you need to watch it. I will not stop bugging you until you watch it. I think Mom and Dad did. I need to ask them about it. Anyways, but it was like that movie where it had a stacked cast. And I saw the trailer when they first announced it, and it seemed intriguing, but I didn't like it like at all.
That's the Tom Holland one, right?
Yeah, Tom Holland.
Henry Cavill.
What?
Is Henry Cavill not in that?
No.
Oh,
Henry Cavill plays Superman.
Oh,
right?
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson, Sebastian Stan. Who? Did you ask who?
I said ooh.
Oh. Who else is in it? Dudley from Harry Potter is in it.
I hate his face.
He's a good actor though. Like, I feel like the only time I'd seen him other than Harry Potter was The Old Guard, and like in that one he was okay. But in this one he was pretty good. I did
not like him.
The acting in this movie is good, but like, you have such a good cast, it's kind of hard not to be. I don't know. I don't want to give too much away, but all I'll say is it feels like it was a bunch of movies they tried to shove into one. And the movies that make me the most upset, like if a movie is bad to me, I don't really get upset at it because it could be just my opinion. But this one, it felt like it had the remnants of a good movie. Like when I was watching it and I was reflecting back on it, I was like, I feel like there were certain parts that intrigued me or that I felt like could have made a good movie. And so it just feels really disappointing that it fell so flat for me.
Yeah, that sucks.
Like, I feel like if they just focused on, they had like so many stories going on, and I wish they would have just focused on one. It is a book, which I didn't realize. So I'm assuming the book is better. But yeah, I think I was listening to a podcast. I forget which one. But they mentioned how it probably, like many books that you adapt into movies, they probably are better served being a television series. And I could see this one being like a limited television series.
Watchmen.
So we can this can be the transition into what you've watched or like how you're doing, but Mom told me that she watched Watchmen and she was like, "Did you know it's limited? Like there's not going to have any more?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, but I assume so because nobody had been talking about a season 2."
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they want to touch it again. They don't want to touch that story just because it's like it's so good, and they could go with it somewhere else, but they'd be doing it an injustice, honestly.
Yeah. All right, how are you doing? How are your wisdom teeth in your eyes? Oh wait, you have your wisdom teeth out, right?
Yeah, mine are gone. I'm better than you. No, Kayla, weirdly enough, she's born without them. She doesn't have them.
Ugh, lucky.
I know. She's like, I don't know that problem. Whatever. I'm just like,
Jesus.
She's just better. She's just genetically better, I guess.
I guess
I was born weaker. She built different. What's new? I don't know why professors, I don't know if I said this already, but they just think that there's more hours in the day because they just be piling stuff on. I worked until like 4 or 5 in the morning on Saturday on one project.
Jeez.
And then I was just like glued to my seat working this entire weekend. And it was like Sunday at 8 o'clock and I turned it in. I was like, all right, 8 p.m. And I was like, all right, my weekend started. I'm ready. So Kayla and Kayla bought the Batman trilogy, the Batman Returns, Dark Knight Rises on Blu-ray from Walmart. It was like $18 for the trio.
Mm.
And so we were watching that. We've been watching that. I'm trying to think if anything else is new. I think that's it. I got nothing in my life. But yeah, so Batman Returns. There's a lot about that movie that I didn't remember.
Whenever people talk about that trilogy, I forget about that movie all the time. It just feels like such a different movie than the rest of them.
It really is. Like, there's a lot that I just didn't remember, like how Bruce Wayne was going to kill the people who killed his parents before he became Batman, and just how the transition of him wanting to fight for Gotham, but not as himself. That whole thing, I just missed me as a kid.
Also, tonally, it feels very different, right? I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time, so this could be very wrong, but Dark Knight feels more cinematic.
Definitely,
that makes sense. Like the first one feels like kind of a typical superhero movie, but then this next two feel like actual like movies.
Yeah, it's definitely more. He's definitely like inputting more of his style, Christopher Nolan, in the last two. I feel like. And I feel like the first, he's like kind of getting his grasp of the world that he's creating and just like how he's going to tell the story, I feel. But finished Dark Knight last night. That's a freaking good movie. And there's not a whole lot that I didn't um remember, but it's like that story is like so complete and it could have ended. Like that movie by itself is just a movie.
Yeah.
It's like it could be on its own, honestly. But that one's perfect. I love it. And today we're watching Dark Knight Rises. We haven't finished it. We'll probably finish it after this. After we record this. That's it. I forgot to plug our Instagram and Twitter. So at Brother Sister Show on Instagram, and then our Twitter is at Bro Sis Show. So that's all I got.
I don't really have any movie news. The only thing I remembered, because you're talking about Batman, is that production for the Batman has restarted.
Yeah, that's true.
I will still not get over that.
Just a little crewmate.
Just a disgusting crew member. Oh, actually, I don't know why this made me think. I started watching The Boys. Did we talk about this?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I finished it.
Oh, how is it?
The last time I'd only seen the first season. I really like it, but there's some scenes, it's like super gory.
Yeah.
And there's some scenes that I'm like, it feels unnecessary, but I still like it. Like there was this one, I don't think this is a spoiler, but I was watching it with Sebastian, and there was this one scene in the new season where they're driving a boat, and one of the guys is like an Aquaman, and he was blocking them with a whale, like trying to get them to not, go onto the shore. And whoever was in the boat were just like, we're just gonna go. And so they just drove through the whale.
What the hell?
Yeah. And I was like, I looked over at Sebastian and I was like, I mean, I feel like that was unnecessary.
They just want to drive through a whale.
Yeah, there's so much weird shit and like gory shit. I really like it though. I don't know. It's really hard to describe, but yeah, I love it. I think it's really good. This season I thought like Sebastian and I were gonna binge it. But I didn't realize they're doing it weekly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
That's
I think
cool.
I'm like halfway through. Yeah.
Oh, the only not movie news, but the Emmys happened.
Yes, they sure did.
I'll just say Watchmen, Regina King won, and she was fantastic in the movie or show. I don't know why I said movie. And Watchmen won Best Limited Series. So
You won a lot, right?
just 3 I'm seeing, and then I'm pretty sure I'm butchering this, but Yahya Abdul Mateen II won Best Supporting Actor in a Limited Series / what is it? It got cut off. Or movie, yeah.
Yeah, I like most of these winners. I like Succession won for drama. Zendaya won Best Actress, and she's the youngest person to win in that category. I don't know how I feel about Schitt's Creek winning a bunch of stuff. I love that show. I love that show very much, but it won every single comedy category. Every single one.
Is it really that funny?
I mean, so I think it's funny. I think it's a great show. It has a lot of heart. Like, it's one of those that it's genuinely feel good. Like, there's conflict, but there's no like hatred. Like none of the conflict is based on hatred. And so I feel like that's why a bunch of people love the show. And I don't want to discredit the show at all. I think the comedian, I think his name is Matt Rogers, he had a really good point where he was saying like there's no hate to the show. I love the show. I think it's a fantastic show, but the fact that Emmy voters can think one show could win every single category within that one genre is a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like they're not like that show is not. No show is that good, you know.
Watchmen is.
I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just like it's just kind of I don't know. And that's
It
the
does seem a
thing,
little
like,
ridiculous.
and that's the thing too about like I don't, that's the thing about like genres, you know, by separating it by comedy and drama. And that's I think this movie is the perfect movie to talk about the way that we categorize things because sure that question you asked is it actually that funny, but like it's I mean it's not fun, like it's not funny like Arrested Development was funny to me, you know. I didn't laugh constantly. It's written well, it's a great show, it has good acting, but like I think maybe people equate it with that as like, oh well, did I laugh a lot during this? Because my favorite, like Succession, I didn't even know it was actually a drama because it is so goddamn funny that I thought it would be nominated within the comedy like genre. But my
Right.
favorite comedy of last year was Rami. But that show it's funny, but it also is really it has so many dramatic things behind it. Like it has a lot of different like stories it's trying to tell, and I don't know, I just maybe people didn't vote for it because it didn't win or it didn't like make people laugh all the time. But Mahershala Ali was nominated for it, and like for him to not get an award during award ceremony is very strange to me, you know. But I feel like maybe people just need to like open up the way they think about the way that they start to like categorize certain things, because especially with the nuance of television and movies the way they're happening now, it is really hard to put certain movies in categories, because like Parasite is such a good example of that. It's so funny, it's so dramatic, it's so scary, like it has so many different things that you can't really fit it within. It feels really what's the word, it feels really not subtractive, what am I trying to think of?
I don't know.
It
Normally
just
I know, but I don't know.
I know. It just feels like you're taking away from it when you're trying to be like, oh, that's whatever. I could talk about this for hours, but just the way that, and it fits into so many things. People are like, oh, you're mad about the category it was in an award show. Who gives a shit? Which I also agree. Who gives a shit? But it also goes into so many things, like the way that you market the movie, the way that people view it, and then how that basically I'm not like losing all of my words today, but it determines how people interact with the movie, because it might be a good movie like like
It sets a
Hereditary.
precedent almost.
Exactly. And like Hereditary, for example, the way that movie was marketed, I liked it, but it was marketed to like an everyday viewer as if it was a traditional horror. And when people went to go see it, they were kind of disappointed when they came out at the end, because they didn't have enough jump scares, or they weren't traditionally scared how they usually get scared if they go to see like an Insidious or a Conjuring, because it is more like it's more of a thinker, and it gets more under your skin if you let it. But I don't know, it just the fact that people like might miss something that is really good because they don't laugh a lot or they don't get scared, or you know what I mean? I butchered that whole thing, but yeah.
I get what you're saying.
But yeah, I mean overall I don't have cable, so I didn't watch the Emmys, but I did I think this is when we were watching The Devil All the Time. I was like refreshing my Twitter feed to see who's winning. And I still have not seen Watchmen, but I was excited for you that Watchmen kept winning. So
yeah. Yeah. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. The only thing I forgot to say that's new, I haven't watched anything else, but this morning I got the new Xbox. I pre-ordered it.
Oh my god.
That's the only thing.
What's new?
Did Sebastian pre-order the new PlayStation? Was he able to get one?
I don't know. I didn't even know there is a new one.
Sebastian, if you're listening, let me know.
Sebastian doesn't listen.
Oh.
I'm kidding, he does.
Dang. Well, I'll find out because he'll let
Oh,
us know in the
dang.
Discord. But I managed to get one.
Hey, you're gonna make him
Amazon
go
pulled
to
through.
the Discord.
I don't. He doesn't
Or
have
he'll
to if
know
he didn't
for
want
sure.
to.
No.
I know. I will know. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a new. I think I saw the memes of it, but I didn't know it was like, is it out or people are just pre-ordering it?
Just pre-ordering. It comes out. No, I don't know when the PlayStation comes out, but it's probably around the same time. But the Xbox comes out November 10th. And honestly, I feel like a kid again. I mean, I'm still a kid, but I feel like a teenager. A year ago,
You still are you not a teenager? How old are you?
I am 20 years
20.
old.
Okay.
I feel like a year ago, a teenager.
I was trying to like, I don't know what. Oh, I was making fun of you, but I was talking to Sebastian and I was like, 2011. How old is Anthony then? I don't know. And then he was like, wasn't he born in 2000? I was like, oh shit, yeah. Because you always remind me of that. And I'm like, fuck, I always forget.
It's just the year, bro.
Oh, easy. All right. Anything
Wait,
else?
what were you making fun of me for?
Oh, I wasn't going to say it on the podcast, but I'll say it. So we were trying to find something to watch, and I wanted to watch a scary movie. And I think it was you, but we were scrolling through, and there was a movie called Apollo 18.
Oh my goodness.
Do you remember this?
I don't know what you're going to talk about it, but I think
So we went to go see it in theaters, like with like our family went to go see it. I don't even know if Homer was there, but we went to go see it, and I remember like when the trailer started, I think it was mom, somebody told me that you started crying. We were like crying.
it's the end of the world, man.
And I looked at it. I looked at the date because I was like, this feels like it came out a couple of years ago. Of course it didn't. It came out in 2011, and you were 11, which is not like an outlandish. And you were just like a scared kid, so you just cried all the time.
Yeah, I was scared of the world. But also, like, aliens are scary.
Yeah, but it's so funny to me though, because like it's our parents aren't like monsters. They didn't make you go.
I genuinely wanted to see the movie.
And I think like somebody leaned over to me and they're like, Anthony's crying, and I just could not stop laughing. And it was the trailers. The movie hadn't even started.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I remember that so vividly. I'm pretty sure it was you because I don't think we would have taken Homer.
Yeah, he would have been like 8.
I don't know. My parents took us to see Signs when we were super young. I should see how old I was because I feel like I was super young. And that movie scarred me for life.
Mm.
But it's fine.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with Parasite. Greed and class discrimination threaten the newly formed symbiotic relationship between the wealthy Park family and the destitute Kim clan in Parasite. Directed by Bong Joon-ho, story by Bong Joon-ho, written by, you guessed it, Bong Joon-ho and Jin Won-han, starring Kang Ho-sang, Sun Kyun Lee, and okay, I looked up all these pronunciations and they instantly left me. And Yeo Jung-jo. Estimated budget of about $11.4 million. Opening weekend, it made about $393,000. In the US, it grossed about $53 million, and worldwide, it grossed about $257 million.
On IMDb, it got an 8.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, 99%. 96% on Metacritic. IMDb, like, I always say this every single time, but what?
I think that's the highest I've seen.
Yeah, it's normally like 7s.
Yeah. But yeah, so critically did well. In the theaters, it did amazingly because it was in theaters for so fucking long. I'm not like complaining. It just, I remember, I think it played whenever I saw it, I think opening weekend, and it was really hard to find a ticket. Like I went with me, it was me, Sebastian, and my friend Sona. And I like told my friends, I was like, I'm going to go see it, and you have to tell me today if you want to go with me. Because usually I'll be the one to buy the tickets so we can all have a seat together. And even, I think I bought it like a day before, and it was really hard to find 3 seats together.
I saw it in theaters for the first time in
January or February.
Yeah, during the Oscars.
And I think it played, I want to say it was November, maybe November, December, but it played from then until it was in Oscars, until it like went to the award season and whatnot. And well, I talk about it a little bit because there's some fun facts about it, but it also had a second run in black and white, but that was pretty limited, I think.
Oh, that would have been cool to see.
They had it in Austin, and I should have seen it because at first I was kind of like, well, I mean, why do I need to see it in black and white? But Bong Joon-ho said that there was a specific reason he wanted to release it in black and white. And I think I have it in the notes. If not, just remind me at the end, and I have it in my mind.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready? This is going to be a long one, so buckle up.
Yeah, I took no notes because I'm ready for you to go.
All right. Well, we start in the Kim family's house. They're trying to find a spot with Wi-Fi because theirs was disconnected. The son, Ki-woo, he finds it in the corner of the bathroom, like the very corner of the bathroom. I like this scene. I love this opening scene because we see how their family operates and are basically just like plopped into the center of their life, which is the best way to start a movie and just to get familiar with the characters, because my biggest pet peeve is when it feels like the world was created right when the movie started. I hate that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Quick question. Do you think they stole this from Pineapple Express? Because it does the same thing. My answer is yes, and I really hope so. So continue.
No, among his references that I found when I was researching this movie, Pineapple Express was surprisingly not mentioned. No.
What we do in this life echoes in eternity. Oh, okay. God.
Which, by the way, my dad had a fun fact about that. That's actually, which I'm sure a lot of people that listen knew that.
They were seething at the teeth just to, it's from Gladiator.
Yeah, it's from Gladiator. And he sent us the video, and that makes it so much funnier.
Yeah, because in it, it's like, he doesn't say it as epically as it is in Pineapple Express, but we don't have to get into it.
No, whatever. He's in like a gross home in a bathroom.
He doesn't yell it. Like, there's more passion. He's not yelling
it when they're about to go into battle. No. You said there's more passion in Pineapple Express?
Yes, and he says it. Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's move on. Well, while this family is, like I said, not scrambling to find free Wi-Fi from the cafe across the street, they're building boxes for a pizza place while they keep the windows open as fumigators come by for free pesticide in their home. Another amazing indicator. So this movie just has so much good shit that there's some scenes where I have specifics, but I mean, hopefully you've seen the movie, so you don't really need me to like tell you exactly what's happening. But a big indicator that I caught this time, I think I've seen this movie like a handful of times. So a huge indicator of what's going to happen in the later, like in the later like plot is something I want to call their first scam, which is the scam that they do with the pizza lady. So the manager of the pizza place, I'm assuming it's a manager, I don't know if that's true. The manager is pissed that the dad's boxes are not up to par. And as she's leaving, Ki-woo, who is the son, he mentions the problem that he hears, which is that I think she fired a driver, so they're like a man short. And then while when he's talking about this problem that she has and he's trying to fix it, Ki Jung, who is the later known as Jessica, she comes in to assist, and then the mom pops into frame, and they're all surrounding this girl, like trying to scam her and watching her as they basically force her to say yes. And so to me, that's very indicative of what happens in the later movie, especially because the mom and the two kids are in the house and the dad is just kind of like going around and driving around Mr. Park.
Right.
So visually, it just reminds me, I was like, oh, this is so
Good.
indicative of what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't even notice that.
I don't know if that, I mean, it feels, I don't want to like not think anything in this movie is intentional because I feel like everything in this movie is super, super intentional.
The shoe fits.
Yep. So after this, after they get paid, they're just eating in their kitchen and they watch some drunk guy pee in the streets. So their house is basically when I was watching a lot of like video essays of this, and they kept calling it a basement, which is basically what it is. It's just like underground. So they're watching this guy like pee in the street, and his friend Min comes from college. I think it was it Min or Mean? I'll say Min from college. He stops by and he is like shouting at the guy that's peeing, like telling him he needs to leave. And the family is like so taken like aback by this guy and his presence, and they're like, oh well, I think the mom says like college kids have such a vigor to them. Which is that true, Anthony, since you're a college kid?
I tell people to stop peeing in my basement all the time. It happens constantly.
There you go. So he comes into the home and then he brings a gift to the family from his grandfather. And he mentions that where they open it and it's a stone. It looks like a mountain kind of like landscape stone. And he says that the stone, quote, brings material wealth to families. And there's a couple of things about this scene and about this rock. The first thing is that Kiwoo says it's so metaphorical, which is the translation, but I think in the actual language it means symbolical, but the translation says metaphorical. It's the same thing, but I don't know if people want that distinction. But this is something that he repeats throughout the movie. Specifically Kiwoo. And when the actor was questioned about the significance of the stone to his character, all he said was that Bong Joon-ho didn't tell him that it meant anything. He just told him to take care of it, which I think is a very interesting direction to give your actor. Which I also like it. Like, I feel like if I was the actor, I don't think I would want to know all of it either. I would just want him to like tell me exactly what Bong Joon-ho said, is like just take care of it, just be obsessed with it, you know.
Yeah, it makes sense too. I mean, well, at the end, I will go to it. Keep on going.
Yeah, and so the college kid also mentions that this grandfather collects something called scholar stones. And a little fun fact about scholar stones. So scholar stones are landscape rocks, are known as susuk in Korean. I'm butchering that. They have a deep history in East Asia. The director's father collected them when he was younger. The practice of collecting these attractively shaped stones date back to thousands of years, but they became a fixture of Korean society during the Joseon dynasty from 1392 to 1897, when they were commonly displayed on the writing tables of Confucian scholars, hence their English name, Scholars' Rocks.
Yeah, that's cool.
Then the college kid introduces an idea to Kiwoo because he's going abroad for whatever. I think he mentions it, but I don't really remember why. But he's going to study abroad somewhere, and so he has an idea to have Kiwoo act as a tutor to a rich family's daughter. And he basically wants him to do it, not because, I mean, he thinks he's smart. I don't think he would come to him if he didn't think he could do it. But the main reason he asks him to do it is because he trusts him to keep an eye on the girl that he tutors, because he says he's in love with her and he can't imagine the thought that somebody would be improper, try to like date her, basically.
She's like still in high school and they're
yeah. Like we said, this is a college kid. He's tutoring a high schooler, and he says that he's gonna ask her out whenever she graduates. Which, I mean, I guess it's nice that he's waiting for her to graduate, but it is still it's still creepy. She's a minor. But yeah. A fun fact about this plot device. So Kiwoo's job, I might refer to him later as Kevin, because in this home they have like different names. Ki-jung is Jessica, and then Kiwoo's Kevin. That's how they refer to them. But anyways, his job as an at-home tutor was chosen because director Bong Joon-ho realized that sadly, that job is the only way that families from two extreme ends of class spectrum in modern-day South Korea can cross their paths convincingly in the story.
That's sad.
Yeah. But yeah, it does make sense. And this is where the scam begins. With Ki-jung's fake degree in hand and a nice suit on, Ki-woo, or Kevin, is ready to scam the entire Park family. And a fun fact about this the forged certificate, it's supposedly from the university that Bong Joon-ho went to. The director.
It's very cute. They talk about how I like that Kevin says this. He says to his dad, because his dad's like, "I'm proud of you, son," or something like that. He's like, "I don't see this as forgery or a crime because I'm gonna go here next year.
I just printed it early."
Yeah, I like that.
And that I do like the way that the parents are like, I mean, they're enabling in one way, but it's, I don't know, it is, I guess it's nice to see the support, but in a weird way. Like when Ki-jung is making it, or when they see the certificate that she made, they're like, I think the mom says, if there was a degree or like a class where you were taught how to make like fake certificates, that she would be the top of her class. So they are very proud of them. All right, so this is when we first meet the Park family, or part of them. But most importantly is when we meet their house, which is where I have a couple of fun facts about them. The Park's house is set in the film to be designed by a fictional architect named Namjoon Hinoja. And it was actually a set. It's not a real house, and it was built from scratch. Bong Joon-ho did all the sketches, did a lot of the sketches of the basic structures of the house. He further revealed that when the production designer consulted an actual architect to design this house, because like I said, they had to make the entire thing from scratch, the architect saw the sketches and said, quote, "No idiot would build houses this way. This is ridiculous."
That's so funny.
But he did build it in a very specific way, as we'll see a little bit later. A couple more things. The house was designed to feature lines that directly divide the Parks and the Kims, which is why it was designed that way. And if you look at, I've seen a couple of Bong Joon-ho's storyboards, and he did, like, everything was, like I said, super intentional, and like Kiwoo says, very metaphorical. Because it has to do with a lot of like lines that divide them, but also a lot of stairs. The stairs play a huge part in the imagery and the metaphors of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's the next one. Stairs and vertical structures are a motif that runs throughout the entire film, which highlights the social divide between the Parks and the Kims. In fact, the director called the project a staircase movie while filming it. All right. The next.
Very cool. I like that.
I was shook when I first found out that it wasn't a real house. Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be a nice house to live in. A very nice house. And there's like 2 stories in it, in the fake house.
Mm-hmm.
And when they film the outdoor scenes, you can see like some background, some behind the scenes footage. It's like all CGI. That's the second half, and it looks so good. It's ridiculous. So cool. They use blue screens instead of green, but very cool.
Next, we meet the housekeeper Moon Hwang, who mentions that the house was designed, like I said, by the architect that used to live there, and that she had been the housekeeper when he was there, so she'd been with the house for a long time. Kevin has his first meeting with the mom, Yeon Kyo. The mom watches the first lesson, which is where I get nervous, but he nails it. Like, he's weirdly, they're so good at faking it. Like, I think she like misses something and he takes her pulse and he's like, when you take a test, you have to like attack it. And he's just like very, he's just such a good tutor where I was like, how he should act like, I'm not mad that he's like faking this because he's good at it.
You can tell this like this isn't his first scam. Like he's scammed.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, and this film just does such a. I mean, it does a great job of everything, but it does such an amazing job of something that I think I point out almost every movie that we do. But how they show and not tell, like they show who everybody is. A perfect example of that is when the mom is about to pay Kevin, and we see her, like, she has an envelope of money that she's going to give him, and we see her kind of hesitating, like counting the money, and she actually like takes some of the money out when she's out of the envelope when she's about to give it to him. But then we cut to her at paying him, saying that she added more for inflation. So, I don't know, that just honestly tells me everything I need to know about that family.
They got stacks upon stacks. They could have gotten so many different Xboxes.
Yeah, and I don't know, just the way that they... Just the whole... I don't know, it goes... I think we'll talk about it later because it goes into another, like, theme of this movie. And this is also the first time that we meet Da Sung, and we also see Native American imagery displayed from this son.
Yeah, because he's a Cub Scout.
Exactly. But I also think it's important to kind of take a pause, and it's important that people, including me, understand just how heinous the mother's explanation of her son's, like, fandom of this culture is. And I read an article that there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be mentioning, like video essays and articles, that I'll link out to the Discord after this episode is out. So follow us or join our Discord and you can see all of this stuff and read it for yourself. But a journalist named Shay Vassar wrote an incredible article about what, like, the native, just all of the Native American imagery in this entire movie. But I took a quote from it where it says, Parasite and its dense criticism of class inequity open up tremendously when the facts behind the use of Da Song's arrows and tomahawks are understood. The American imported toys and their appearance become nuanced, disgusting, and proof that money cannot buy the respect that knowledge and understanding can bring. This leaves a very big question unanswered. Do worldwide viewers know enough about Native American history to fully understand Bong's critique? My assumption to the answer is no, which is yet another sad reality on many different levels. Hopefully the use of Native imagery that exists in Da Song's hypothetical toy box will open up this discussion worldwide, giving a platform to the Native writers, thinkers, filmmakers, and other artists who are continually pushing for better representation in the media. And so what Shay is basically asking of us, of non-Native people that are viewing this kind of imagery and metaphors, is to examine it and not just see it and be like, oh, that's funny that he just like likes Native American stuff, right? Because it can be incredibly easy to write all of this stuff off as just a silly boy and his silly family that don't know any better. Like he likes some things, so they're gonna buy stuff for it, or like to indulge in that thing that he likes. But if we're refusing to acknowledge that history ourselves of an entire population of people, then we're no better than the ignorant mother in this movie. So just a little aside there. But yeah, there's, like I said, this article just talks about the imagery in total, and the way that Bong Joon-ho uses so many things to tell the story about like capitalism, just rich people in general, and yeah. and that we need to know our history of things. We need to look things up, and we need to be taught them in school and not have a boiled down version of it that people try to sell us. All right.
Amen.
All right, after this, the mother shows Kiwoo a portrait that Do-sung drew, and he gets an idea. A little fun fact about this self-portrait. So this peculiar self-portrait made by her young son that Miss Park proudly shows off to Kiwoo on his first visit to the parks bears a very strong resemblance, altered of course to resemble a child's work, to the wild-eyed painting by the eccentric Mrs. Anthony of St. Francis, which her mad son Bruno finds amusing in the classic Alfred Hitchcock film Strangers on a Train. This resemblance is probably not coincidental, as attested to by the numerous Hitchcockian themes and tropes scattered throughout this film, as well as a very prominent placement of a Hitchcock video in one shot. Yeah, and I saw a lot of video essays where Hitchcock is a huge influence to Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out is like, this is one of the funniest parts where they're talking, Kevin and Miss Park, and Kevin's like, "Oh yeah, it's so artistic. Like, it really resembles a chimpanzee." And she's like, "It's a self-portrait actually." And it's just like this beat where it's just silence, and it's so funny.
And he's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I remember when I remember specifically when I first saw the trailer for it. And I remember that scene in the trailer. I was hooked. I was like, I need to see this movie.
Yeah, that was really funny.
So after that, Kevin, the idea he has is to bring his sister in on the scam as Da-sung's art therapist. So the next visit, he brings her along, and as the mother gives her a tour, Kevin is tutoring the daughter, and this is where they have their first kiss.
Man, that made me feel so gross.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, not only is he doing his boy wrong, but she's underage, and then they're like, "Oh, we should just study."
And she's like, I don't know. It just feels like all the even like the college kid and Kevin, like they're both. It seems like they're taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like she's just lonely, or she's just like, maybe not lonely. I don't know. It feels like she's being taken advantage of. Maybe that's something I never really thought of, and I don't know if anybody's actually talked about, is if Kevin actually does like her.
Or he just wants, like, maybe it's all a scam to him and he just wants it in.
Yeah. Same thing about his friend, though. I would pose the same question to him. You know? Because he says that, like, the main thing I remember that stands out from when he was talking about her is that he couldn't stand the idea of another, like, frat boy, you know, liking her or being with her. But he never really said that she was, like, sweet, or that she was kind to him, or that she's funny. He just mentioned how he didn't want anybody else to have her. You know?
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I remember from that scene, is that he was just like, I don't want anybody else to have her. But you won't stand a chance with her, so you should go tutor her. You know?
Man, here they are. Making out during they didn't make out. They just like, I
think it was just like a one kiss.
Yeah, then they were like, oh shit. And
then we cut to Jessica. The way she talks to the mom is amazing. I love it. She like tells her she doesn't want her in the room she's having the first session with him, and then she wants the housekeeper to go like spy on them, but then when they get upstairs, she's sitting at the table with him, and he's very well behaved, like a robot, and she's like, come sit with me, like, and tells the housekeeper to go away. Like, she's just so commanding. I really love it. Like, she instantly falls into that role.
And the mom just like eats it up.
Yeah. And so they're like sitting in the kitchen, and she asks the mother, she's like talking about what she found from a session with him, and she asks about a traumatic event that happened to him, and the mom like gasps. This actress, oh my god, she's so the fact that I love that they won Academy Awards. Like I love that the movie won a lot of Oscars. But the fact that none of the actors were nominated is such a crock of shit. Especially the women in this movie are fucking amazing.
All of them, man.
Yeah, everybody. But the people that stand out are like Jessica, and then the mom, like the rich mom, and
Even the maid.
Yeah, all of them. They're all so good.
Yeah.
God, I love this movie. All right. After this, Jessica's given a ride by the driver, who we first meet. So we meet the dad, Mr. Park, and then we meet the driver. And they insist that she gets a ride home from him. And he's trying to get her to agree to have him drop her off at her house. But she insists on being dropped off at the train station. She even like lies and says that she's meeting her boyfriend. Another question I had that I don't think anybody's that I've known has talked about is why was he so insistent on him dropping her off? Like, was it because he wanted to see if she, like, where she lived, or was he actually being a creep and that's why she had that idea?
I think he probably was being a creep.
That's what I think,
like, he was like a little too persistent.
Yeah, because I was like, yeah, same, yeah. But like I said, she has an idea. It looks like she like forms an idea from what's happening. And she basically, when she's sitting in the car, she takes off her underwear. And I remember when I first saw this, I vividly remember so many scenes. And I remember one of like this one, and I was like, where is she going with this?
Yeah.
I was
Same.
so confused. It makes so much sense now. But there's another, I don't remember where I found this. I think it was on Twitter like a long time ago. But somebody talks about, they did like an analysis of this scene, where like the framing of it, where when the scene first starts, we're looking from Jessica's perspective, and he looks like super mysterious. Or no, we're like looking from the front of the car, and so we see him predominantly, and she's like in the background. And as soon as she gets the idea to like, after he like kind of harasses her and she's like, no, take me home, and the camera's like in the front seat, but as soon as she has the idea, it shifts, and it like, if you watch it like rotates to the back of the car, and it goes from her perspective where she's taking off her underwear and she's looking at him from the back seat. So the
this
perspective,
movie is amazing.
I know, the perspective like shifts, where it's in the front, focused on him, but then once she gains, and he's like trying to control her and tell her what to do, but once she gains control of what's happening, it physically shifts. I know. When I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? It's amazing. I mean, part of me is like, I don't know. I wonder, that's why I wonder when directors watch other movies if they can see this instantly. And it's kind of like annoying because it's like they get to know how the sausage is made and they don't get to enjoy the movie. But then it's kind of cool, like when you watch it after, you see an explanation of it and you're like, that's why I felt this way, or that's why this happened, you know?
Yeah, it's so smart. That's why I'm like, I don't know how they even come up with this stuff. Ridiculous, man.
Like, I watch movies like this and I'm like, I could never make a movie.
Yeah.
Ever. I'm not this smart. All right. So after this, the next day, Jessica asks her dad if he's driven the same kind of car that the driver takes Mr. Park around in. I think it's like a Benz, right?
Yeah, it's a Benz. And I just want to say this, at this point specifically, I was like, it all clicked. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that's, I don't have this a lot for movies, but there's some movies where it's just like, there's that one scene where or one line where you just sit up and you're like, all right, this is getting good. And you like adjust to get like more comfortable. Like that feeling is what, like, I vividly remember watching this movie and like, oh shit, here we go, it's getting good. Like it was so, yeah, I had the same like reaction watching it again. It was so awesome.
I think part of me, because I knew a lot of people, I didn't know what happened because people, I love when audiences are really good preservers of spoilers. Like I didn't know anything about this movie. I did know that it had like that it's super unexpected, and to me that's code for like there's a twist. So I knew that something was going to happen, but the thing I loved about this movie is it made me forget that, and it made me so into what was happening that I was like, in the back of my mind I was still kind of like, okay, how is this going to turn? What's happening? Um but yeah, like I guess we'll talk about it when it happens, but it's such a big shift in this movie. In my mind, when I think back on it, it feels like two different movies. Like
Yeah,
this one, it's
definitely.
right now it's kind of fun, and I'm like, oh yeah, scam them, please. And then it gets weird. But yes, after this is when Mr. Park is in the car and he finds the underwear in the back of the car. When he gets home, him and his wife decide that they don't want this kind of guy to work for them anymore because they basically just see the underwear and just build an entire story around it. I
Oh my
also
gosh.
love the scene. I don't know if I have this in the fun facts, but Bong Joon-ho said that a lot of the influences of this movie was the actual themes of this movie, you know, talking about class and all of that. But a big thing too, a big inspiration was that he wanted something super cinematic. And I don't know why, but every time I think about this movie and how it's being cinematic is like the scene where instead of him, like whenever she's like, I don't understand what you mean, instead of him saying it, he goes like up to her ear and he whispers it and she gasps and put her hand over her like mouth. It's so
Yeah.
cinematic. Like everything in this movie is so cinematic.
It's so funny because like after that she says like cocaine or heroin. Like that made me laugh so hard because like it's just like I don't know how they got to that conclusion. It just
I know.
it's just so funny. And then they're like, just come up with some lame excuse because we're better than that. Like we don't want to go down to his level, and that's just that also spoke to just that. Just let me know. I know what kind of people these are. Wait,
Yeah.
what kind of people these are? Yeah, they are.
They are. You okay?
Oh man, what am I doing with my brain?
All right. So after this, Mrs. Park, she brings this up to Jessica, like especially because she had a car ride with him, and Jessica like mentions that, I think she mentions it was weird. Or no, she says it was fine. That she was like or no, she said, what happened? Oh, now I remember. So she basically told her that she had him drop her off at like the train station, and the mom was like, good girl. And because she told her like basically what happened, she didn't say it, but she just said something happened to where they needed to fire him. And she mentions that she has the perfect driver that they can hire, and I wonder who that is. It's of course the dad.
Papa.
And he's given a sort of test by Mr. Park that he passes, but I would for sure fail. Like
Oh my
he
goodness.
does a test where he's holding a pretty full cup of like mug of coffee, and he's holding it while Mr. Kim is like driving. And I think it would be funny to, I'm sure somebody did this, but kind of like as a parody to like have the coffee going everywhere. That would be me. That would be me driving.
It would definitely.
It would go everywhere.
Imagine
What
if
if
that
that's how
was
they
just.
did like driver's tests?
I was just about to say that. Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Oh man. And what if it was like they scored you, but then they had a cup in the back and they're like, okay, so let's see how the water test went. Or see how the coffee test went.
It's like really hot coffee, and they hold it over your lap.
Oh
So
my
if you
God.
get
That test is so nerve wracking to begin with. I don't know. I would probably just not have my license. I just wouldn't drive.
yeah, walk everywhere.
So the next person that they have to get rid of is the housekeeper. and she presents a big challenge because, like we said, she's been there for a long time. She's very trusted. Um, One thing that I found in a video essay, I'll send them in the Discord, but the reason that like the whole it plays into the whole like the lines of this movie where it has physical lines like within the actual house, but Mr. Park himself mentions lines a lot, like people not crossing a line, people staying within their lines. And he says he mentions when he talks about the housekeeper that the reason they keep her and the reason they really like her is because she knows not to cross the line. Like she knows where her place is, basically. Um, yeah. So basically, that's like a big reason why it won't be as easy to just get rid of her. But they found the perfect solution: peaches. And a fun fact about the peaches, which are very famous for this movie. Actually, within the this isn't a fun fact; it's just something that I know. But whenever I went to go see this movie, um, I saw it at the Draft House, and when back in the day, whenever movie theaters were a thing, they would have limited edition like menus, and for this one, it was a lot of. I don't know if they had the pot like the noodles pasta. But I know they had these wings I really wanted, but they sold out of them. But they had like a peach cookie, and they had a peach smoothie, and just had a lot of peach things.
Peach
really
stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I think Sebastian got I think got the smoothie or the milkshake. I don't know. So talking about the peaches in the film, Bong Joon-ho revealed that while in college, he went on a training trip where one of his friends said that he was severely allergic to peaches. Bong thought he was kidding, but when some other kid went to a nearby grocery store and jokingly tossed a peach at the boy, he turned bright red and had an attack, even though it didn't hit him directly. Bong found that the fact that peaches were pretty to look at, but could also be used to attack somebody, was very cinematic, and so he needed to have it in his movie.
Man, the heist that they pull off.
And it is like that one shot, the one shot of her getting the peach and just like looking at it. That shot is amazing.
And when they do the little, because they get shavings, like peach shavings,
the fuzz of it, yeah.
And they like dash it on her neck or something.
And it's just a little bit.
That's all they need.
And so after this, she has to go to the hospital because she's just breaking out, and she needs to figure out what's going on because she, like we said, she obviously doesn't know that it's the peaches. And so when she's at the hospital, Mr. Kim shows up and he takes a selfie with she's in it. And so the next scene, he shows it to Mrs. Park. And I love the scene. So they have this where he's like telling Mrs. Park about, going to the hospital, seeing her. They have it intercut with the son, with Kevin helping Mr. Kim, like with his lines. And I love this scene, especially because I feel like for American audiences, maybe the average American audience doesn't know these actors because they're predominantly in like Korean films. But if you are familiar with like Korean films, then you know that this actor is super famous. And so the fact that they have like a lesser known younger actor, like basically trying to teach this guy how to act, like it's just very like a funny scene if you know the context of it. Because he's like delivering the lines, and then Kevin's like, no, like you're doing it, you're up here, I need you down here.
It's like Timothy Chalamet giving directions to like
Tom Hanks.
like Tom Hanks. Yeah,
exactly. Like it's just like the context of it. Oh, and this actor is also in I think his name is Kang Ho-sung. He's in a couple of Bong Joon-ho's movies. I think I think he's in Snowpiercer, but I have to double check that. All right. And so after this, there's so many scenes in this movie that are just so well choreographed, and this is one of them where Mr. Kim and the mom and Mrs. Park are going, they're like arrive at the house, and so that's when Jessica comes down and she like just throws a little bit of fuzz and causes her to have like a coughing attack, and she coughs into a tissue, throws it into the trash, and somehow I don't know how he did this gracefully, but he like squirted hot sauce onto it so it looked like blood. And there's a ton of shots in this movie that are amazing, but there's two specifically that I can think of that are my favorite. And my second favorite shot in this movie is him picking up the tissue and showing it to Young Kyo. It is so funny. And
His
if you look at
face,
it's so
he's just like,
funny.
oh no, oh no.
And I need to find I need to remember to send all this stuff in the Discord. But there's if you look at the storyboard of this scene, but I think it was Bong Joon-ho. I don't know if he drew this, but the drawing of this scene, it looks exactly like it. Like the guy has the same face.
You that has to be the still for this episode post.
Okay.
Just like the
yeah. That oh my god. I mean, people who have seen this movie can probably guess what my first favorite shot is, but this is by far, I don't know if where it stacks up in like shots in movie history for me, but this shot is like
it's up there.
So good. It is so fucking funny. Like I could
So
not
funny.
stop laughing in the theater. And then like, and also I don't want to discredit Mrs. Parks, like the shot of her where she's like, damn it.
She's like, oh no.
That's also an amazing shot. Oh god, this movie's so fucking funny. Yeah. And so they basically have to fire her. Oh, I forgot what it was that they said she had. Was it tuberculosis?
Tuberculosis, yeah.
Which is really like a really serious disease to like accuse somebody of having. So basically she gets fired, and Mr. Park is talking to Mr. Kim just about the fact that they need to find a housekeeper. And this is when he mentions the whole line thing, like, oh, I really liked her because she like knew to stay like stay in her lane kind of thing. And so Mr. Kim says he has like the perfect solution, and he gives him a business card of obviously a fake business. But I do love when he gives him the card and he's like, oh, I can tell it's a legit business because of the business card. Hello?
It's a legit card.
Oh, are you delayed?
No, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah.
I was just saying it's a legit card.
Yeah, I mean, it is like super thick.
Yeah, I mean,
when he's like, it's a nice design. It kind of reminded me. It reminded me of the.
Card.
Oh, exactly. But it reminded me of the scene in American Psycho.
Never seen it.
What? You've never even seen the scene I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
All right, I'm gonna send you the scene. It's better if you watch it without the context of the movie because it's so fucking weird.
Okay.
All right, so now the mom is in. She's in on the scam, and she's the new housekeeper. And they have a really just a funny scene of just all of them in the park house, just all doing their jobs and living their best lives. And I think this time when I was watching it, I did take a moment to appreciate how fucking creepy that is. That all these people are working for you and you don't know that they're related. I mean, it's not really... On the surface, it's not... I mean, without the lying, like the lying is the bad part of it, but it's not like inherently creepy, but just knowing that they all know that, I don't know, it's just very weird.
Yeah, if I hired like 4 people and I found out that they were related, it'd be kind of weird.
And they actively lied about it? That's strange.
Yeah.
But Anthony, it makes me sad that we didn't start this podcast saying that we're like friends or like not siblings.
Boom.
And then reveal it.
The friend show.
The friend show. The friend show.
Friend show.
All right. So the Park family then decides they're going to go on a little camping trip for Dasong's birthday. And they're having... So they go off and leave for their trip. I don't know if they mentioned this now, but I guess I'll mention it that the reason they leave for his birthday is because of that traumatic event. Oh, I think they do mention it. Yeah, I'll talk about it later. But he just doesn't like to be in the house for his birthday. So they decide to go, and while they leave, the Kim family decides to take over, and they're having a great old time. They're taking baths in their bathtubs, they're reading their diaries, and just drinking and eating in their living room. It's a great time. And while they're eating and drinking and hanging out, and they're just like, it's a cute scene of them just like being a family, of talking about what their future will be. And I think there's a couple of like lines of all of them talking about like basically giving compliments to the Park family, like talking about how they like them and whatnot. But then there's a doorbell ring.
Oh no.
And a fun fact about that I saw in a video essay is that the doorbell ring takes place at the exact middle of the script. It's 141 pages, the full script, and it takes place on page 71.
That's the shift.
This is where we find, this is where the divide is for the first movie and the second movie. The first act and the second act. We're now in the intermission. And for whatever reason, they answer the doorbell. And it's the old housekeeper. And she looks like shit. But it's so she's just saying, like, she's looking into the camera and she's saying that she left something. I think she said under the kitchen is the exact wording, right?
Yeah.
And she, in this camera, like, I remember first seeing this and this, like, whole scene of her looking into the camera and just, like, she looks so desperate and she has a little hood on. It is so scary.
She still looks like sick from the peaches.
Yeah, that's what I said. She looks like shit. Like, she's like all puffed up and kind of, I felt bad for her because it was all like she lost her job. She looked like shit because of this family. But I was like so creeped out because she's very creepy in this instance. And for some reason, they let her in. I knew it was going to happen, but I was like, I remember, I think I was like looking over to my friend or Sebastian, and I was like, don't fucking let her in. Don't do it. But they let her in.
I don't know why they do it.
Yeah, I don't know. So they're hiding. The rest of the Kim family is hiding while the housekeeper goes down into the basement to get whatever she came for. And before she goes down the stairs, she looks at the mom, at Mrs. Kim, and she's like, would you like to come with me? Do you remember that? She's like, do you want to come down with me?
That scared me. It's just like, why'd you let her in? Just
she's
like,
so
goodbye.
Unsettling. It's really, really scary. And so she's like, no fucking way. And so she goes down by herself, and they're just like sitting, waiting, like, what the fuck is going on? And I think Mr. Kim like points to Mrs. Kim, and he's like, just go down there and see what's happening. And so she goes down, and the family follows, like, really quietly. They're just like huddled together trying to figure out what's happening. And while she goes down there, she sees, this part scared the shit out of me when I first saw it, because I didn't know what that was. Because when the like scene of her, or the shot of her like pushing onto the like cabinet, my brain didn't recognize that as her pushing it. And so I remember, like, I got scared because I was like, what the fuck is that?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and just like something there. I was like, ah.
Okay.
But she helps her. So Mrs. Kim like helps her open the cabinet, and it opens to like just a dark basement. And the mom's
stairs.
like, yeah, and some stairs, and the mom's like, what the fuck? And oh my god. So seeing this, like I said, I saw this, I don't know if it was open, it might have been the week after, but it doesn't matter because that theater was packed. And it was so fun. because this whole scene, everybody in the theater was like, what the fuck is going on? Because like I said, this movie was like so like funny and happy, like, oh, this family's getting scammed, they're so stupid, ha ha ha. But now we're like, what?
A
Because
complete
sorry, what?
tonal shift.
Oh, complete shift, because like we don't know what's going on. And so the mom runs down because the housekeeper just like she just fucking goes. And then the mom runs down and it's like a whole winding hallway and she's running. And I remember watching this with my friend and my friend was like, what is going on? Because she's like running so fast and our brains don't have like time to catch up is like, where is she going? Even the like, it feels like the colors of that scene changed where it was like warm inside the house, but as soon as we got to the like basement, it was like green and kind of feels like Saw, this like the Saw movies.
Yeah, exactly like that. That's what I
And
was gonna say. Like the dark, not like dark green, but like a scary green.
or even like, you know what it also feels like is that Cloverfield 10 Cloverfield Lane. It has that
Yeah,
same like coloring.
you know, it kind of has the same color. I might be stupid on this one, but it kind of has the same color as The Rock. Not
Oh,
Dwayne, but
yeah.
the
The Scholar Rock or the Scholar Stone.
Scholar Rock.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. Well, it's probably because of the material of the walls.
It is
But
rock, but yeah.
yeah, oh god, this scene is so good. In one of the video essays I'm going to send, it like breaks down this entire 10-minute scene of like the shift, and it just breaks down how well it takes the tone so like down, and it kind of gets really heavy. But yeah, so when we get downstairs, it gets even like I was trying to remember, and I wish I would have. One of the things I wish I could remember from that experience is what I thought they were going to get to. You know, like what in my
Yeah.
mind I was like, what could possibly be down there? But I think I was so into the movie that had no fucking clue.
I was just waiting.
Yeah, and then when we got there, I don't know if I could have ever imagined this, but it was her husband. But it's not just like a man sitting down there because she has a bottle and she's feeding him and rubbing his belly. It just feels very strange. And I don't know if it's just the context of him being like living in somebody's basement, but the whole scene, like everything he does is so unsettling to me. Like the way he
The
drinks the bottle, the way
way
he
he
eats
eats
the
the
banana.
banana. Oh man,
Why, dude, don't eat
that
it like that.
that dude is chomping down.
Yeah, he's so like he is focused on eating that banana. Like that's the only thing in the world he wants to do is eat that banana.
It was just him and that banana in the entire world. Yeah, it was a universe of just them.
And this is when we learn that he has been down there for 4 years.
Holy shit.
Since the first guy that lived there. And so basically they mention, I think they go into details, or no, not, I don't know if they go into detail, but basically he owes a lot of money. Like they owe a lot of money. And the debt collectors were like very, very hostile, and they just needed to get him out of the world basically because they were just going so heavily on him that he just needed to escape. And so this was the solution, I guess. And the Park family has no idea that place is there because the housekeeper mentions whenever he was selling the house that he didn't disclose. I forgot exactly why it was there. I think it's like a panic room basically. But whenever they were selling it to the Park family, he didn't disclose that it was there. So she was like, well, I'm just going to put my husband in there. So they have no idea that it's not only do they, I mean, they obviously don't know that guy's there, but they don't know that this basement exists at all.
Yeah.
So creepy. And so Mrs. Kim is like really disgusted, and she's like, is basically threatening to call the police. And
How could you do this to the Park family? You're lying to them when she knows damn well that she's lying to them too. So it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Ugh. I remember in that, like, in the movie, I was like, or whenever I was like watching it in the movie theater, I do remember like I did shift really easily where I was, at first I agreed with her. I was like, yeah, like this is, why is she doing, like, this is kind of weird that they're just like there, the family doesn't know. But then I was like, wait, they don't know
Yeah.
about you either. What do you, like, don't get off your fucking high horse.
And we are
But
quickly reminded of that.
yes, because the dummies all fall onto the floor. And not only that, but Kevin's like, Dad, my ankle, like, and he's like, don't
Yeah, I
call
don't
me
know what
Dad.
that was about.
Yeah, I don't know. But they basically blow their cover. And then the housekeeper's like, well, looks like I'm not the only scammer. And she actually records them. She's like, she threatens them with it, and she's like, come near us again and I'm gonna fucking send this. And I love that when Mrs. Kim tries to call her sis, because like that's I think in Korean culture that's a term of like endearment, is to call each other sis. And so the housekeeper does that too, Mrs. Kim, like she calls her sis whenever she's like trying to get her to agree to like not tell the Park family about her husband there. And she was gonna pay, and she like had a whole plan where she was gonna pay her, she was gonna pay her to leave him food, all this stuff. And so whenever it like switched on them, Mrs. Kim tries to call her sis, and she's like, don't call me sis, you fucking bitch.
Yeah. So rough.
I don't blame her, I'd be pissed too.
Yeah.
But then they all go upstairs. They're relaxing. Well, at least the housekeeper and her husband are. And the family is just on the floor with their hands up, waiting for her to basically send the video. She keeps threatening to do it, while her and her husband are just like massaging each other. I have no idea what the fuck they're doing, but they're having a great old time. But then I think it was Mr. Kim, one of them like charges at the housekeeper, and they have like, they're all fighting. They take the phone from them. They're just like wrestling with each other. And while they're fighting, Jessica runs and gets a peach from the fridge, and she rubs it all over her face.
God, it's so rough.
I know. And while they're all fighting, the phone rings. And Yeonkyo tells them that they're going back because of the rain, because it's starting to rain really hard. And she asks if they can make ramdon, I think that's what she calls it.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, what is that? Because when she hangs up, and I think this is mostly for Korean audiences, because I didn't realize that this is actually not a dish. Or at least ramdon is like not an actual term, and it was invented by, or I'll get into it, but that's why like when the mom hangs up, she's like, what the fuck is that? So ramdon is the dish that Mrs. Park asks Mrs. Kim to prepare as they are returning from their campaign, or their campaigning trip. Their camping trip is actually a term invented specifically for this film by subtitle translator Darcy Paquette. She combined the names of noodles that used to make it, ramen and udon. He felt, oh, I said she, but it's a man. He felt the dish's actual name would be too difficult for English speakers to understand. It was on here, but I can't pronounce it, so he was right. The beef that Yeongyo asks to be mixed in is hanu, which is one of the most expensive meats in the world, which serves as a commentary on the parks that they add premium beef to a dish regarded in Korea as a budget comfort food.
Most expensive meats in the world? Wow.
Yeah, I should have looked up how much it is, but I did not. All right, and so this scene is the single most stressful scene, and I think of all of cinematic history. I could not handle it. I know that a movie is good when I like am having physical like reactions to it. Like I remember in this scene, I had both of my hands on the side of my face because I was like, they're not going to do it. Because they're basically trying to like run to fix everything. They're fixing all of this shit that's in the living room.
Clean up.
They're cleaning up. Kevin needs to put the diary back.
Deal with the old maid and her husband.
And trying to make this dish that she didn't even know what the fuck it was. Yeah, there's just so much shit going on, and it
I'll
was
say,
so stressful.
the
That
thing
scene
I'll
itself
say,
earns an Oscar. Sorry, go on.
the thing I'll say is like, this is like a common trope in movies is like, oh, mom and dad are headed home, like we have to get ready. But this movie does it so good, just because of the buildup.
Oh my
That's all I
god,
got.
and like, ugh, and what's at stake?
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna explain that? Oh my god, it's one of the most stressful movie experiences I've ever had. And even now, like, I remember when I watch it, I know how it ends, so it's like not as stressful, but I still felt so anxious during it.
Yeah.
It is so effective. I fucking love it. So yeah, and then we get to a bunch of things that are really creepy, really stressful. So they eventually do get home, and when they get home, one of the like creepiest things of this movie, there's so many creepy things, but one of the like just things that makes me like gives me chills is, so there's these lights at their entrance, and whenever Mr. Park walks up the steps, they light his way. Basically, they all like singularly light whenever he walks on the steps, and it looks like it's just a feature of the house, to the point where I didn't even recognize it until this scene. Like, I didn't know it happened, really, or I guess I didn't like take note of it. But it's not automatic. The guy that's in the basement is doing it individually.
Ugh,
It's
creepy,
so
man.
creepy. He lights it. There's like a button for each light, and he lights it as Mr. Park goes up. And he also says that he sends him messages. He has like a Morse code thing on his wall, and he sends him messages to thank him through Morse code. And he also yells respect.
Respect!
I loved it. But this, so it's creepy in a lot of ways, but it also shows something super interesting that I saw in a video essay that I would have never thought of. So it's basically essentially something called cool capitalism. And so just think about your iPhone, right? Like the phone you use all the time. It's cool and sleek, and it does a lot of cool things for you, it has a lot of cool features, you use it all the time, whatever. But like, just take a pause and think about the history of this phone. How it was made is super dark, because a lot of technology, I mean, Apple tries to hide this to the point where a lot of people don't think about this a lot. I mean, admittedly, I don't think about this a ton, but it's basically made with slave labor, or with labor that's like in conditions that are not great, that the people are not paid well. All of that was used to make this phone. And like I said, it's well hidden to those that use it. And sorry, I missed my note. But basically, it like just shows this whole idea that there's something that he thought in his house that Mr. Park, whenever it happens, he doesn't even recognize, he doesn't take the time to realize that it's cool. But also, to him, it's just a cool feature of his home. It's just an automatic sensor. When in reality, there's somebody down in his basement that's doing it for him.
Yeah.
Like, it kind
Someone
of
living
directly,
in his house.
yeah, like there's somebody that is directly suffering to create that automatic cool thing for him that's just a little feature. Like our phone, I mean, it's a ton of stuff in our homes that we use, like the shoes that we wear, the technology we use, the just all the things that we do. A lot of people have to suffer for it, and it's really, I think people just ignore it. You know, it's kind of, he just ignores, he doesn't know the guy in the basement is there, but if he ignores it, you know, even if there was something weird that could have been, like the whole, like, you know, when it like flickers and they notice that, but they're kind of like, oh, but we just need to get it checked out.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, because also, like, you're talking about tech, like that's a good example, because Mr. Park is in the tech industry, and you see that whenever he whenever Mr. Kim goes to like interview, he goes to his office and you can see that he's working on like VR, but he's not like, he's like designing stuff, you know, he's like at the, I don't know, like he's not at that like low level where he's like making, like physically creating, he's just like designing it for other people to make.
And that's basically the entire like theme of this movie, and I'll get into it later, but like like it is a little disturbing that like there's people in Silicon Valley or just around the world in the tech industry that are making these like amazing things, but the people that are bringing that to life are not treated well, and will never ever get to the status that he's at, you know, but because he refuses to pay them. As well as, you know, I'll get into it later, but just a little tidbit. The video essay does a better job of explaining it, but that's basically it, where like we need to recognize the suffering that is happening for us to have a cool, oh look, I can have a cool little homepage. Like it's not,
my Snapchat filter looks cool.
Or your fucking Xbox that you just ordered. You piece of shit. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know.
All right.
Move on. I'm sorry.
All right. So, but this is when we get to my favorite shot of the movie. So Yeon Kyo is talking. She's eating. Well, first of all, she told Mrs. Kim to make the ramdon for Dasong. Doesn't even eat it. She eats the entire thing. And she's eating it while she's talking about the ghost that he saw and the reason that they don't have his birthday in their house anymore. And so basically, he was eating cake in the middle of the night on the floor, and he looked over to the little basement, like downstairs area, and he sees the husband popping up, like with his eyes wide open, looking at him. And it is the creepiest shot I've ever seen. But it is also my favorite shot of this entire movie.
I'd lose my shit if I saw that.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly, I thought the kid was dramatic, but like, I don't blame him.
I mean, the kid's still a little dramatic.
Oh yeah, super dramatic. But the whole birthday thing, I get it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. Then the family, they almost make the perfect escape, but then the dumb kid, like we talked about, he decides he needs to sleep outside in a tent. So the parents are like, they're trying to get him inside because it's still kind of raining, and they're like, well, we can't get him inside, so let's sleep in the living room. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but the Kim family is, well, all of them except for the mom is underneath the coffee table the whole time. And they're trying to leave, but they get stuck. And a fun fact about this coffee table, it was designed specifically for the movie because the makers needed to measure it so that 3 adults would fit under it.
That's funny.
It is super big.
I mean, yeah, they're all managed to fit there.
Yeah.
Laying down.
After this, so there's like a weird I remember watching this in the theater where they have like a sex scene in the living room while a family is underneath their coffee table.
They didn't know that was happening though.
Oh my god, but just watching it though, like watching it as the audience was so uncomfortable, but I could not stop laughing.
Am I remembering correctly? Doesn't he say to get the underwear?
Yeah.
Man, that was like, this dude's a creep too.
Oh,
what the hell?
And then they also talk shit about the Park family, or not Park family, the Kim family. They talk shit about how Mr. Kim smells.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really sad. All right, so the family finally manages to get out. There is a little stressful scene where, as soon as when they're trying to leave, I think Mr. Kim gets stuck because the kid like radios to them, and I don't know how they don't see him.
He's just laying down on the ground like face.
And he's like, if I don't move and if I don't look at them, they can't see me. But they don't, so I guess it works. And they finally get out and they they run to their home in the pouring rain. It's still raining a ton. And I think I've said this before, but the movie is so obviously about class, but it is super apparent within this scene, in a bunch of scene, but specifically in the whole reign of it all. And it may escape you on first watch. It kind of did for me, but when I watched it this time, and I think I did see like somebody talk about it on Twitter or something. But this reign, like I said, for instance, for the Park family, like it ruins their camping trip, right? And even the next day, Mrs. Park says that it was a blessing in disguise. But for the Kims, it ruins their entire home. Their entire home gets flooded with sewage water. Ugh, it looks disgusting. Yeah, and they also, like, we get to a later scene where they wake up in like a stadium, which basically like an entire like group of people, like not I don't want to say group, it was just tons of people were misplaced because of this rain. And the next day the Park family is like, it was a blessing in disguise.
That's
And I have comments about, oh no, actually I have comments about it now. So this kind of made me feel a little bit shameful because it makes me think of all of us idiots who keep calling quarantine a blessing in disguise.
who does that?
I think when we first got into quarantine, that was my mindset just so I could feel better. I was like, yeah, but like I'm not spending a lot of money. Like I remember I said that. I don't know if I said it out loud, but I at least said it to myself. I was like, oh, I'm not spending a bunch of money. I get to, be more creative. I have more time. Like, I just, like I said, all of us dummies that keep calling this a blessing in disguise or keep trying to make people have a positive spin on this. When so many people have died or lost their jobs, this is not a blessing. This is not like, I don't know. It was just this movie humbled me where I was like, yep, I was one of those assholes that said that or that thought that. And that could be true for me. That could be that this is, I guess, a blessing for me. But like I said, so many people don't have the privilege of having a job like I do, or of having a home like I do, or of not getting COVID like I do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the same thing. Like, it's why I bring up the Xbox. I'm kidding. Like, I don't want you to feel like shit, but I think it is a good reminder to all of us that we need to like recognize these things. And if we're going to have iPhones, if we're going to have Xboxes, if we're going to like participate in this capitalistic world, that we need to like recognize that we do, and we need to try to use whatever privileges that we have to like try to better it,
Definitely.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, just certain ways. Like, I know a lot of people have discussions. I'm not the person to have this discussion. There is a good, I'll try to plug it at the end. There's a good podcast I've been following where this girl like interviews activists and basically is like having these conversations about trying to be involved in activism. And it is really hard, like with fast fashion, just places where like fast fashion, I'll use as an example where like some of us can't buy ethical fashion because it is more expensive. And I mean, it sucks, but that's the world we live in, where I can't drop $60 on a shirt sometimes, so sometimes I do have to resort to that fast fashion. But there's certain little changes you can make, like you can go to thrift stores, or there's certain small steps that we can make to try to phase out these institutions that can like perpetually keep poor people in the same
Right.
life, right? Like we all have to work to help everybody be in a better situation. Sorry that I'm done preaching, but yeah. So I don't want to make, the moral of the story is like, I recognize that I was one of those idiots, and I will not say that again because it is not a blessing. But yeah, I love that Bong Joon-ho was like he's like, I need to call her out on
everything
what she's doing. All right. Oh, and two things. So okay. Two fun facts about this flooding scene, though, like technically fun facts about the scene. So the Kim's family house, alleyway, and entire neighborhood were all built on a massive set that doubled as a water tank so that the whole thing could be flooded. Second thing is that for the flood scene of the quote-unquote poorhouse, face mud mask was used to give the sewage its brownish look.
So not real Dookie.
No.
Dang.
Not this time. All right. So while the Kim family is trying to salvage what they can of their home, there's they're struggling to figure out what's happening, trying to get shit, off that's not touched with sewer water. But while that's happening, Moon Hwang, who is the housekeeper, dies in front of her husband, which, I mean, she is there's not really a set villain in this movie, which I really like, but there was a certain, most of the movie I didn't really like her, but it did feel really, I was really sad that she died, and also in front of her husband, even though he's creepy, but like, that is still sad, because he obviously
Very
loved her,
sad.
they obviously loved each other. And I also would be creepy if I lived in a basement for 4 years, so like...
Mm-hmm.
The next day, Young-kyo calls Jessica to invite her to Dong-sang's party. So they decide to have a party. I really love that whenever she's like, this is when she, calls the rain a blessing. And when she's on the phone calling it a blessing, Mr. Kim is driving and he's like, so over it. A good thing, another thing the video essay pointed out that I watched is the shift in after this flood happened, or after this, like, in the second part of the movie. The first part of the movie, they're like really happy to, like, scam these people, and they're performing their jobs really well with a smile, basically. But in the second part, they like hate it, and they don't look like they're having a great time, like, at all.
Mr. Kim looks exactly, he has the same face as when he's folding those boxes with the fumigation, like, fumes.
Mm-hmm. He kind of looks like angrier though in this time, because she's like,
oh yeah.
And I'll get into it later. Well, I don't know if I talk about it. Yeah, I do. Sorry. Editing myself live. All right, so at this party, after Mrs. Park gets all the stuff for it, the entire family is there, and all these people are there that she invited. My favorite thing that she kept telling him is not to bring gifts, but then obviously they bring gifts. And she's like, oh, we're just gonna have hors d'oeuvres, and then they have like tons of fucking food. Just a great time. So at this party, they all have a very specific part to play, except for Kevin, who is upstairs making out with the daughter. And then there's this interesting part, though, where he asks her, they're like looking at everybody, and he says that they all look so cool. Like, everybody at the party, they look so, I think he just says they look cool, and he asks her if he fits in. And I think she's like,
Sad.
yeah, but not convincingly, like, at all.
So sad, man.
Yeah.
And does he have the rock with him? I can't remember.
Yeah, he has it in the bag.
That's right.
So he has the rock. He has it in his bag. And he decides he's going to go down, and for whatever reason, he brings the rock with him, and he's going to go down to the basement to talk to them. Don't know why. But yeah, so he goes, yeah, like I said, he goes down to the basement. He has the rock, and then he's going down, and when he's walking down, he drops it.
It's so loud.
Oh, so fucking loud. But instead, at this point, I would have been like, you know what? This is a bad idea. But he's like, no, I'm going to keep going. So he creeps his way down the stairs. And then the husband, who I think he had broken himself out of it. I don't really remember. Like,
yeah, he was tied up.
Yeah. So he basically beats the shit out of Kevin. He like surprises him by like getting some like metal thing. I don't know where he got it. He has like some metal thing.
Didn't he kill him with the rock?
Okay, well, so he like first gets him in the neck like with this metal thing, and then he hits him. I think he like runs upstairs. I forgot exactly the sequence of events, but he ends up hitting Kevin with the rock. He hits him the first time and knocks him out, and then he picks it up again and throws it again at his head, and for sure thought he was dead.
So when he throws it again,
Oof.
the noise.
So after he beats the shit out of him, he he goes upstairs, he grabs a knife, as you do. He heads straight into the party, and he goes straight after Kijong and he stabs her. After Jessica, he stabs her, like, I think it's like in the heart. After he does that, the mom attacks him, and Mr. Kim is just like looking at the chaos around him because like a ton of shit is happening at this moment. The kid Dasong, he like falls, he like faints, and everybody's freaking out because he fainted. Jessica's on the floor because she got stabbed. The mom is wrestling with the guy from the basement, like trying to. I think he's like trying to stab her. They're just like fighting, and then he looks off to the side and sees the daughter carrying Kevin out, and he has like blood just pulling or like running down his head, and his daughter is just dying. He's trying to push onto the wound, but she's like, it hurts, and she's just obviously dying. Oh wow. Mr. Park is yelling at him to give him the car keys so he can take his son to, like, don't want to wait for an ambulance, and he wants to like take his son to the hospital. And he just feels like he's just unbothered by everything that's happening. The fact that the girl is stabbed, that the wife or that Mrs. Kim is like wrestling with this guy. And one really important thing that I didn't recognize until this viewing was whenever after Mr. Kim throws the keys at Mr. Park, but they land underneath the guy from the basement who at this point is stabbed from Mrs. Kim, so he's just like, I think he's just dead at this point, or he's dying. So Mr. Park like lifts the guy and gets the keys, but while he's getting the keys, he like plugs his nose. Did you notice that? He plugged his nose because of the smell. Because the guy down there doesn't have a shower, so I'm assuming he smells like shit. But this, I didn't even realize until I like looked into this, or I was like, why is like this smell thing? I knew that it happened throughout the movie, but I didn't recognize it as an actual theme or metaphor until I like did more research into it. But basically, like the stone is a big metaphor, but so is smell. And
yeah.
So there's like a scene where the kid notices that basically all the Kims have the same smell, and it's kind of a funny line because then they like cut to them being like, well, we need to wash our clothes different, like in different loads or whatever. And then I think there are a couple few scenes like I said, they make fun whenever they don't know that the Kim family is underneath their coffee table. They make fun of the way he smells. And then whenever he's driving the wife to get like a party supplies, she does like recoil at his smell. And it's just really indicative of like how they like the reason that it's kind of, it looks like it's the snapping point or the breaking point for Mr. Kim when he sees Mr. Park do that. Like that's why he stabs him, and it's just an indicator of how wealthy people view poor people and how like no matter how they're dressed, like when they go to the Park residence, they're dressed nice. Like I guess you can't like view them as stereotypically poor because Kevin and Jessica are like in suits. They're just all like dressed nice, I guess. But they can't really escape the smell. Like they can't escape the fact that they are poor. And so it's just like shows as like a sense of them being other, of them being on the different side of the line that Mr. Park drew, And so I
it's his
think
breaking point.
Yeah, that's why he sees him recoil, even though this is a guy that he's basically recoiling from the guy that murdered his daughter, but he sees it as he thinks he's better than all of us. He thinks that his son fainting is put as a higher priority than his daughter being stabbed. Because they're rich and because
they smell different.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we're all like, I hate to be that person, but we're all human beings, right? We're all like, all of us are worth the same because we're all human beings. But rich people, like the Parks, think that they're worth more. I mean, monetarily, sure, but like their soul is not worth more than Jessica's, just because she doesn't have as much money as they do. And I think he saw that for however generous they may seem, they don't actually view these people as people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They're just labor.
Like, honestly, all of that, I'd probably do the same. I get it. It's like too much.
Way too much. But yeah, and then after Mr. Kim stabs him, everybody's like, what the fuck? And he just leaves. And after he leaves, we cut to Kevin waking up in the hospital. He keeps laughing. It's kind of a funny scene. I mean, this is a really serious part of the movie, but it's funny because he like has a brain injury, obviously, because of what happened. So he keeps laughing, and there's the doctor's trying to tell him what happened, and he just keeps laughing, and the doctor's like, why does he keep laughing?
Mm-hmm.
After this, we cut to them visiting Jessica's like grave because she passed away. And then he also mentions that they don't know where his dad is. They have no idea.
Yeah.
And that people keep like tailing them to try to see if they know, but him and his mom have no idea where he is. After this, Kevin decides he's going to go back to the house. At this point, it has new owners. I think you can't really tell. There's just new owners. And then he sees the light going on and off, and he decides to like record it because he knows Morse code, or at least he can like decipher it.
He was a scout. He was a Cub Scout.
Exactly. And this is where we see that Mr. Kim, after he stabbed Mr. Park, he like went around. He looked like he left because they were showing this it looked like a Dateline kind of thing where they were talking about what happened. And they said he just disappeared into the alley. But in actuality, he left, went through the garage and went into the basement while nobody was looking.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been down there this whole time. And he wrote a letter to his son, and he was like, telling him through the Morse code. And he basically just tells him about like what he's been doing, the fact he buried, whenever they were, I guess, going between owners after the Parks moved out, he buried the housekeeper, and he's been stealing food from the new family. And after this, after he finishes reading the letter, Kevin writes his own letter to his dad, and he tells him that he'll buy the house or he'll earn enough money so that he can buy the house. And the day that he moves in, his dad can walk upstairs and be a free man. And then they cut to while he's explaining this, they show it happening. Like they show him older with his mom. They like just moved into the house. His dad walks up and they reunite. They have a great time. They're hugging. And it looks like the end of the movie because it fades out. And then we cut back to the basement, which is basically the first shot of the movie. And we pan down to Kevin. He's still writing the letter. And then he ends and says, so long until then.
Man, I can't speak enough onto the first and last scenes. That's probably one of my favorites of any movie because I watched one video and I don't remember who it was from or where, but he said that like Bong Joon-ho loves starting and ending his movies with the characters in their same like place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just if you compare the two scenes, the first shot and the last shot, they're exactly the same, but so much has happened between them, but they're still kind of in the same. I mean, obviously
He's
some
in
of
the
them are dead.
same, but they're in the same
Predicament. Yeah. It's
But honestly, well, actually, I wouldn't even say same. I think they're off worse. I mean, they
oh
lost two of their
definitely.
family.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
I
yeah,
love that.
and I don't know. It's just I remember when that happened. So I remember specifically this movie. I knew it was brilliant at this point because it's like all the way done. But after that, when they showed him, like the reuniting scene, and I was like, oh, that's a nice ending, I guess. And then they showed that he was just explaining what was going to happen. And I looked at Sebastian and I was like, he's never getting that house.
Yeah.
And actually, another fun fact about this movie, not really fun fact. So A Glass of Soju, which is the first end credit song, is written by Bong Joon-ho and sang by Wo Sik Choi. And the original title is called 564 Years, which is the number of years that Kevin would have to work to earn the money to buy the house.
Damn, man, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of years.
A lot of years.
But I can't explain how much I love this ending. Because they didn't have to tell you that. Like, they didn't have to tell you. At least, I mean, I don't know. I'm very curious. I think it might change by the culture of the person viewing it, or just the understanding of the world, I guess. But like, I wonder if there were people that were like, yeah, he's gonna be able to do that. You know what I mean? Because whenever I watched this and I was like, fuck, he's not gonna, like, that's a sad ending because he's never going to be able to do that, and his dad's gonna be stuck there forever.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I'm sure there's somebody out there that was like, I think it's a happy ending.
There's got to be. And honestly, like the thing that seals it for me is like Kevin's face at the end.
Yeah.
He's just you can just see he's just like tired. It's just, and then the lighting is perfect for it. It just matches it so well.
Well, I think it kind of, well, I'm wondering, this is how I'm going to interpret it, but I think when he was writing it is kind of the same way how I felt whenever I was watching it. Like, I was watching this nice story of him like ending the movie perfectly and him ending his story perfectly. And I was like, yeah, this is great. I hope this happens. And then the realization, like, we have the same realization that he does at the same time, where he's like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Oh God, this ending is perfect. This movie is perfect, but this ending, I could not stop thinking about it after I watched it.
It's perfect.
So good. All right, I have a couple of things.
Couple. It's like another page.
I know. Well, a couple of things about this movie, and then we have just general fun facts. The parks are, in their own way, parasites. Each member of the family is in sore need of a companion, as they can't rely on each other properly. That was from IMDb. But I think, at least my understanding of this movie, and then I got my thoughts together a little bit better with like research and just time to think about this movie. I think this movie perfectly points out the flaws of the idea of the American dream, where we're taught, I mean, this is what I was taught. I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're kind of taught that working hard, like the whole term pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, is the only thing that you need to be successful and to have the American dream. But that's not true. I mean, I guess successful in your own way is like a different argument, but I don't think, like, I think success, how it's viewed in our culture, people are saying the way you can do that is just by working hard.
Yeah.
And that's not true at all. There's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of privilege. There's so many things that go into achieving that don't have to do with working hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
so much
and sorry,
privilege and opportunity.
Oh, yeah. And it also disproves the idea that poor people are the parasites, like we think, like we as a culture think that they are, because there's a stereotype that poor people are lazy, or that they're Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that they're lazy, lazy, or that they're like kind of like deceiving, kind of, you know how the Kims are, they're like scammers. There's this idea that poor people are that, but like, I don't know, the Kims worked hard and they earned money. You know, they did what the American dream tells you need to do. But like we said, they ended up in the same position, if not worse, than at the beginning. Um, and they're not able, like, they were not able, with all the scams that they had, they were not able to escape the life that they had at the very beginning. And the only people, like, I think this movie, the video essay does a really good job of explaining that this movie shows that the only people that are actually like, everybody's a parasite in this movie, but the people that are like the most parasitic are the rich people, because they, as the Kims, are working constantly to try to get themselves out of this hole, right? They're trying to get literally a hole, like a basement. They're trying to work to get themselves out of it, but no matter how hard they work, they can't. And the only people that are profiting off of them is off of their labor is the Park family. And that's basically like a comment on, you know, big companies, like we're talking about, you know, they're profiting off of people because they don't want to pay them. Like, how are people that are making our iPhones, how are they going to live the American dream if these big companies are not paying them enough, you know? And these companies are actually the parasites because they're profiting off of cheap labor from people. And they're just perpetuating this cycle of poor people just staying poor, and it's directly their fault. And then they have the audacity to put this stereotype on poor people, saying that they're lazy.
Right.
Oh God.
The world's a bad place.
It truly is. All right. But what does this movie all mean? I think I kind of explained it, but this is like a bunch of fun facts that kind of explain or that are centered around Bong Joon-ho's like specific ideas of this movie. So his statement for the film: for people of different circumstances to live together in the same space is not easy. It is increasingly the case in this sad world that humane relationships based on coexistence or symbiosis cannot hold, and one group is pushed into a parasitic relationship with another. In the midst of such a world, who can point a finger at a struggling family locked in a fight for survival and call them parasites? It's not that they were parasites from the start. They are our neighbors, friends, and colleagues who have merely been pushed to the edge of a precipice. Sorry, I can't read. As a depiction of ordinary people who fall into an unavoidable commotion, this film is a comedy without clowns, a tragedy without villains, all leading to a violent tangle and a headlong plunge down the stairs. You are all invited to this unstoppingly fierce tragicomedy.
I love that.
And then
a comedy
a little
without
bit
clowns. I love that.
I know. And the rock that is gifted to the Kims as a charm for wealth and good fortune. Whenever they get the rock, the mom says that they should have gotten real food instead. I don't know if you remember that. And this represents how hope is portrayed in this film as a false reassurance. As encouraging as it is, if we can't give anything lasting or solid, then it's eventually worthless. And this is also shown by the guy from the basement using the rock to smash Kevin in the face and escape whose rampage destroys the Kims and the Parks. Sorry, I can't read. Yeah, that's the same thing. The film's title is a clever reference to the end of the film. A parasite is an organism that attaches to a host and feeds off of it from the inside of the host. Because he can't gain wealth, the father is forced to feed off of the wealth and the resources of a much richer family while living inside of their house. Yeah. And the last thing. For Bong Joon-ho, Parasite is a tragic comedy that depicts the humor, horror, and sadness that arise when you want to live in a prosperous life together, but then you run up against the reality of just how difficult that can be. All right.
That's everything.
I have a lot of fun facts.
No, I'm sorry.
Right.
I meant like that's everything.
Yeah.
That's the movie. That's everything.
Yeah.
The movie
All
is
right.
everything.
So this movie was shot in 77 days. And I have a couple of like subcategories because there's so many fun facts. So this is first like the awards that it won. So it won the Palme d'Or. I should have done that with French accent.
Door.
Palme d'Or. At the 2019 Cannes Film Festival, and it was the first Korean film to ever do so. Bong Joon-ho was particularly happy with the Best Editing and Best Production Design Oscar nominations for the film, as he felt great technicians and masters working in Korean film industry were getting recognized for the first time. This is the third film to win both the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival and the Academy Award for Best Picture. The other two were The Lost Weekend and Marty, which are pretty old films. Of the three films, only this and the latter won unanimously at Cannes. According to editor Jinmo Yang, he edited the film in Final Cut Pro 7, an editing program that Apple stopped supporting in 2011 on a computer that hasn't had a software update since 2014.
God, that sounds like you.
I know.
That's so
But guess
annoying.
what, bitch? He received an Oscar nomination for his work. Whore. And this movie was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, and it won 4. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best International Feature. It was also nominated for Best Film Editing and Production Design, but it didn't win in those categories. And it is the first Best Picture winner for non-English film, or a film that's not in English.
Here, I have a little fun fact of myself that's not really related. It's kind of related to the film, but I went to the trivia, and they asked about what movies were nominated in this year's Academy Awards for Best Picture. That's it.
Okay.
This movie was on that list.
Of course it was. And then
because it won. I thought Jojo Rabbit was gonna win, honestly.
Really? So I didn't think Parasite would win because the Academy's racist. So I didn't think that, because it's really, really hard for an international film to win. Super hard.
Yeah, like you said, no non-English film has ever won the award. But
and when Sebastian watched it with me, he surprised me. I was going to watch it by myself, but he surprised me by coming to Austin to watch it with me. And I screamed many a times. Every time he won, I got very happy.
Yeah, I mean, Bong Joon-ho said it in his acceptance speech. I don't remember which award, but he said something to the effect of, if you guys get over the 1 inch or 2 inch barrier of subtitles, then you're going to be introduced to so many amazing films.
Which is so true. Yeah, my favorite movies are just, and like other countries are doing such interesting shit, which is, I mean, Parasite is a huge example of that, but like some of the most interesting movies I've seen are like French films, Korean films are amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to get into Spooky Month. If you want to watch any legitimately terrifying, scary movie, it's probably an Asian film. They just do horror better than us. And people are just missing out on amazing films.
Movies.
Especially French, like indie films.
Those
amazing.
Yeah. So
good. Okay. I do have another little like subcategory of Bong Joon-ho interviews, which are my favorite kind of interviews because he's so fucking funny. Like this isn't in here, but during I think it was after he won one of the Oscars, they had a press conference. They have a press conference that they go to after, right after they win. And for people that don't know, the Oscars are basically the last award show during like award season, and they asked him like how he feels now, and he says he's excited because this means that he can go home. Because he obviously doesn't live in America. Because why would you when you can live in South Korea? All right. In an interview with Korean magazine Cine, I don't know how you say that, Cine 21, director Bong Joon-ho spoke of his experience in filming in a hyper-rich Korean home. He said his hand literally shook from anxiety when he was returning a trash can that was used as a prop. The trash can was of high-tech variety and stayed silent even when the lid was being closed. And do you want to guess how much it is?
I just saw it.
Damn it. $2,500.
That's ridiculous.
And he also said about it in a different interview, he said, "What the fuck? What kind of idiot would buy a trash can that's going to smell anyways?" He also, at the Munich Film Festival, he said he doesn't like screenwriting and that it makes him nervous and insufferable to his family. The idea for Parasite has existed since 2015, and the final script was written in 3.5 months.
That's pretty short.
Fuck
right?
him. Yeah, it's really short. People sometimes take years to write screenplays.
Yeah.
When asked if he thought it was his best film, Bong Joon-ho shrugged, saying his next one is the best, then paused to say he hopes so. I fucking love him. He's so funny. All right, a couple more fun facts and then we're done. The film makes several nods to Alfred Hitchcock throughout. Stairs are used as a motif. Voyeurism is used as characters watch scenes through windows 14 times. And most obviously, there is a brief glimpse of an out-of-place Alfred Hitchcock collection in the Park's home. There was a wide aspect ratio that was chosen to accommodate the capture of a large family group in a single frame. Bong Joon-ho first conceived of the film as a play, but the first line itself got him thinking about the camera positions. So he decided to make a film. Asking them to refrain from spoilers, Bong Joon-ho released a word of pleading for international press before Cannes film premiere.
Pleading.
I'm glad he did, honestly, because this movie, I mean, this movie kind of inspired my need to like go see movies without knowing anything. But truly not finding anything out about this movie was the best decision I've ever made. Oh, okay. This is about the black and white film. So, because of his respect and fascination with black and white cinematography, director Bong Joon-ho announced that he would release his acclaimed film in just black and white in January 2020. This special presentation of Parasite was planned to debut at a film festival with screenings to follow in New York and Los Angeles, as well as small art house theaters in other cities like Fort Worth. It also, I think they had it in Austin too. And speaking about the black and white release of the film, Bong Joon-ho hoped that with the colors gone, viewers could see more clearly the contrast in living conditions between the rich and poor families.
That makes a lot of sense.
I wish I would have. I hope maybe there's a way I can buy it. I don't know.
Hopefully.
And he also chose his longtime collaborator, Kang Ho-sung, who plays the dad, I believe, and Wo-sik Choi, who plays the son, who plays Kevin. And they were in Bong's last film, Okja. Oh, I forgot he made Okja, which came out in 2017. Before picking any of the other actors of the movie while writing his script is when he decided he wanted them in it. Bong also said that if Song had declined, he wouldn't have made the movie, and he couldn't think of another actor to play the part.
Whoa! Imagine.
I know the power he has. All right. Sorry, that's a long one. It's a lot of stuff. Oof.
It's probably going to be the longest episode because this is almost 2 hours just by itself.
Yeah, maybe we'll cut around some stuff. Maybe, I don't know. That's Anthony's call. But I already said how I feel about this movie. This movie is perfect. And I think it can, every time I watch it, it makes me think more about my life and how I operate within a capitalistic society.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing movie. Watch it, please, if you haven't seen it. It's on Hulu.
Alrighty. What are we doing next time?
Next time, is a special time because it's the 1st of October, and it's also Olivia's birthday after that. And I thought, what a better way to celebrate Olivia's birthday and the start of spooky season than watch one of her favorite movies of all time, Paranormal Activity. So
I
watch it.
am so excited. Where is it on?
It's on Netflix. So watch it. It's a good one.
And quick before we end, throughout October, I have a list of scary movies that I love that are available on streaming services. This isn't a comprehensive list of the best or of my favorites. It's just ones that I think you should watch during spooky season. So, go to our Instagram or Twitter. Let me scroll all the way up. Our Instagram is at Brother Sister Show, Twitter at Bro Sis Show. If you go to the link in both of those descriptions or in the descriptions of those profiles, then you can head to our Discord where you can see every single day. Hopefully I remember. We're going to post a different movie.
Yeah. Oh, also,
Okay.
shout out to Haley, Kayla's friend. Oh, yeah, she's my friend too. Shout out to my friend Haley. She told me that she really likes the podcast, and yeah, shout out.
Yay. So apologies for how long this one is. It's okay. Parasite is worth it. I'm not, you know what? Not sorry.
I'll cut some of it so it won't be like
too long.
It'll still be long, but it won't be. It'll be like 7 minutes shorter or something like that, maybe.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
All right. Bye.